My name is Charles Ruben Fong. I am a graduate from Temasek Poly's Law and Management Diploma, and I was an intern under Pro Bono SG's ad hoc pro bono scheme for 4 weeks. As an ad hoc pro bono scheme intern, or as we like to call it, APAS, my day-to-day scope would require me to first look through all the application forms sent by various social service providers, right? And whereby we will see who referred them, what is their case, as well as any specific, any exceptional case details that the applicant may have. So following which, if they have a case, right, and we would likely need to go through some interviews. They call it the means test and later on the merits test. Actually, note-taking, I would say, although it is mundane itself for the task, right, it generally contributes to a greater good in the sense that other people's cases will not be ignored.
I'm Lindy. I'm an intern for 2 weeks at the Pro Bono SG on the ad hoc pro bono scheme. First of all, there are 3 areas here. One is access to justice. Second is you're protecting the rights of individuals. And thirdly is you actually empowering the communities. So I felt all this put together, you have made such an impact, you made such a difference to the people who are unable to access to justice if you are left alone, for example. And I think by contribution, whoever we can, as much as we can, we will make such an impact, especially to those people who need it, who are deserving. Talking to clients make a very big impact. Firstly is you get to know them. You get to understand their problem. You get to understand why they are in that situation. And lastly is how could we help them? So that all that put together gives you a different perspective. You reflect back. If you are in the situation, if you get the same level of help, would you be very grateful? So I think that impacted me a lot. So I think by listening to them, reaching out to them is a great thing. So it really impacts your own life as well as their life.
My name is Ronald. I was attached to the Criminal Legal Aid Scheme as part of my attachment here. My job scope was mostly to assist with the legal research as well as to help them solve their ad hoc problems. They are in possession of a certain skill set, and instead of trying to help them in other ways that other people can help, this is only something that they can do, which is why I think that in terms of pro bono legal, I think that that's the one way that they can help. What I really enjoyed the most was interacting with the legally aided, because every one of our meetings means something to them, and fortunately or unfortunately, we always go there with something new, a new piece of information, a new piece of advice for them, and it will always give them a bit of certainty, even though the situation might be better or worse for them, but at least it gives them certainty, especially for those who are incarcerated, right? They're sitting in jail, in limbo, like just waiting for something to happen, and for someone to come over and tell them, hey, you've got more clarity on the situation, I think you're looking at X to X amount of time, or maybe, hey, you can avoid that totally. I think it helps to lift the weight of their heart.
I'm Zachary. I initially worked with Pro Bono's Community Legal Clinics team for the first 2 weeks of my internship, and I transitioned to a Community Law Centre, which is Pro Bono's first office in the Heartlands in the second half of my internship. I think my time here in PBSG has made me realize that access to justice is something that is very, very important, and I think can be done on a much larger scale. I think one memorable experience that stood out to me was when I was part of the whole process of interviewing an applicant and then sitting in for the consultation with the applicant together with a volunteer lawyer. I think generally when I first see it, people would say that, oh, it sounds quite run of the mill, but actually what made this memorable for me was that the entire interview, the entire consultation with the volunteer lawyer was actually done in Teochew. So it wasn't done in one of the 4 official languages of Singapore, but it was done in a Chinese vernacular dialect. So I thought that was quite interesting. But I think what really hit home was the whole idea of access to justice, how PBSG is able to facilitate access to justice, because for a demographic like this elderly applicant who had a legal query, if no one could talk to her in Teochew, if no one could understand her to find out what issue she was facing and how best to help her, she will have no cause of action, she will have no legal recourse and no aid given to her simply because there was a language barrier. And it really changed my viewpoint that access to justice is really a universal theme, in the sense that people have a myriad of different needs, and I think we need to engage as many people as possible, whether legally trained or not, to help in areas such as this, like dialect communication, because I understand that there will be certain individuals who won't be comfortable in dialects. So I think that's a part where other people who are not legally trained but are fluent in Chinese vernaculars, for example, to come in and assist in facilitating people's access to justice.